My name is Juliet. And everything I'm about to tell you really happened to me. There was a time in my life when I had everything: security, love, a home filled with memories. And then one day, I had nothing. No inheritance. No family support. No place to sleep. Just a suitcase, and the cold realization that the people I trusted most had chosen to erase me. This is my story. My father wasn't just wealthy. He was disciplined, respected, and incredibly protective of me. He built a successful company from the ground up. I used to sit in his office as a little girl, pretending to sign contracts while he laughed and told me, "One day, all this will be yours to protect." I never cared much about the money. What I cared about was how he looked at me, like I mattered. Like I was capable. Like I was his legacy. My mother was different. She was elegant and beautiful, but emotionally distant. I don't think she ever meant to be cruel. She just lived in a world of appearances. Social events. Status. Image. My father was depth. My mother was presentation. And I existed somewhere between them. For years, everything seemed normal. Until my father got sick. His illness happened fast. Too fast. One moment he was managing board meetings. The next, he was in a hospital bed, weaker than I had ever seen him. I remember holding his hand. He squeezed mine and said, "Be strong, Juliet." Those were the last clear words I remember him saying. 2 weeks later, he was gone. The house felt hollow. The silence was unbearable. But I still believed I was safe. Because he would have taken care of me. He always did. The day the will was read, I wore black and tried to act mature. I was grieving, but I trusted my father completely. The lawyer began reading. Property after property. Asset after asset. All transferred to my mother. At first, I thought I misheard. Then came the final line. A personal allowance to be provided to Juliet at her mother's discretion. Discretion? That word echoed in my head. My father had promised I would be prepared, empowered, protected. This didn't sound like him. But grief makes you doubt yourself. So I stayed quiet. I told myself there must be a reason. I told myself my mother would do what was right. I was wrong. 3 months after the funeral, my mother introduced Victor. He was charming. Confident. Smooth with his words. He complimented me often. But something about his smile never reached his eyes. Within weeks, he was everywhere. In my father's office. Reviewing company documents. Making suggestions. Staff members who had worked for my father for years were slowly dismissed. And the house stopped feeling like home. Then one evening, Victor called me into the living room. My mother was sitting beside him, quiet. He said, calmly, "You're old enough now. It's time you learn independence. You won't be staying here anymore." I thought it was a joke. It wasn't. My mother didn't defend me. She didn't argue. She didn't even look at me. I was handed a suitcase. And told to leave. I had never felt humiliation like that before. Not because I lost money. But because I lost belonging. That first night, I sat at a bus station bench, staring at my phone battery slowly dying. I remember thinking, how did I go from being a daughter to being disposable? I cried quietly. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just silently. Because deep down, I realized something terrifying. No one was coming to save me. The next morning, I looked at my reflection in a restroom mirror. My eyes were swollen. But something inside me had shifted. I could either collapse, or I could rebuild. I found a small cafe that needed help in the kitchen. I washed dishes for hours. My hands cracked from soap and hot water. Customers who recognized me from my old life whispered. I heard the rumors. She must have done something wrong. Why would her family throw her out? I wanted to scream the truth. But instead, I worked. At night, I enrolled in business and finance classes. If paperwork had taken my inheritance, paperwork could give it back. I studied contracts, corporate law, inheritance disputes. I didn't study because I wanted revenge. I studied because I wanted understanding. But understanding slowly turned into something else. Clarity. Years later, while reviewing legal case studies, I found something that made my heart stop. If a will is altered under questionable mental capacity or external pressure, it can be contested. My father had updated his will just 2 weeks before he passed away. During heavy medication, with Victor present. That wasn't proof. But it was a crack in the story. And cracks let light in. I could have run to court immediately. But I didn't. Because I had learned something powerful during my lowest years. Power first. Action second. I saved every dollar I could. I started a small consulting service helping struggling small businesses manage finances. I failed. More than once. But failure no longer scared me. Because I had already survived worse. Over time, my company grew. Slowly. Steadily. Respectably. And one day, I realized something that made me smile for the first time in years. I was financially stronger on my own than I had ever been as someone's protected daughter. Meanwhile, my father's company was declining. Victor had made risky decisions. Investments that looked impressive on the outside, but hollow inside. Through strategic partnerships, I began purchasing shares quietly. No drama. No announcements. Just numbers moving behind the scenes. Until the day I walked into a board meeting. Not as someone's child. Not as a victim. But as majority shareholder. Victor's face changed when he saw me. For a moment, I saw fear. Not because I was yelling. Not because I was angry. But because I was calm. I simply said, I'm here to restore what was built with integrity. No insults. No revenge speech. Just facts. Contracts. Votes. Ownership. Within months, leadership changed. The company returned to ethical foundations. And my father's name was honored again. One evening, my mother came to see me. She looked tired. Older. Smaller than I remembered. She admitted Victor had influenced her decisions during grief. She said she thought she was protecting everything. But in reality, she had lost both her husband and her daughter. I won't lie. Part of me wanted her to feel the pain I felt. But healing had already begun inside me. And I had learned something important. Bitterness is heavy. And I was finally free. I ensured she would live comfortably. But I set boundaries. Firm ones. Because forgiveness does not mean access. If you're listening to this and you've been betrayed, I need you to hear this clearly. Being thrown away does not make you worthless. Sometimes people remove you because they cannot control you. Sometimes loss is preparation. I lost my inheritance. But I gained independence. I lost protection. But I gained power. I lost a house. But I built a foundation within myself that no one can ever take again. Today, when I walk through the company headquarters and see my father's name restored, I don't feel revenge. I feel peace. Because the girl who was handed a suitcase is not the woman standing here now. If my story proves anything, let it be this. You can be stripped of comfort. You can be stripped of support. You can even be stripped of identity. But as long as you refuse to be stripped of your will, you can rebuild everything. And sometimes, you build it better. My name is Juliet. And this is how I took my life back.